Alright, well, today I'm here to talk about the U.S. national debt, and I'm here to talk about it with
Jeremiah Rogers
and Lowell Reed.
And first topic is about how we got down 19 trillion, and he will now discuss that.
All right, so 2001 was the last year that we actually had a surplus in the United States. Since then, our government has been exponentially increasing spending, increasing the level of public debt by massive amounts of money over the past 16 years.
In the past 16 years? What fields?
Most of it began in 2002, basically because of the declaration of war on terror.
So 9/11.
Yeah. We invaded Afghanistan to start off with, created and since then expanded the Department of Homeland Security. Then in 2003 and 2004, in 2003 we invaded Iraq. In 2004 saw heavy fighting, which resulted in more spending, bigger troop surge.
More bombs dropped.
Yeah, basically. And then later on, 2007 was when they really we had a heavy presence. We pushed a large number of
more and more troops.
Troops over there. So it just cost more money.
Stuff ain't cheap.
And then after that, well, that's when we started. Our own economy started having problems. Housing bubble collapse in 2008.
Bad banking practices.
Yeah.
Loaning out money we didn't really have.
Went to a recession, and then President Obama signed in the Stimulus Act and the TARP Act, which basically were both classified as mandatory spending. The economic stimulus package, which was mandatory spending, expanded all discretionary spending, so kind of turned discretionary into mandatory.
What were some of the discretionary things we had?
It's mostly things like housing and urban development, transportation, nutrition programs, things like that.
So just like temporary programs became all the time programs?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Not necessarily all the time, but rather we couldn't
cut it.
We weren't able to be discretionary on how we spent the money for those, or how much we spent. It was just spend more money.
Spend.
And then on top of that, you had the bank bailouts, bailed out large corporations. Daimler Chrysler at the time was one of them. General Motors and AIG all received very generous amounts of bailout money.
Okay.
Also, something that doesn't get brought up too often is that after Obama took office, the budget for the Department of Defense hit record levels and has been growing since then every year.
Really?
So,
do you have any statistics as number-wise?
Let me look here. In 2009, the Department of Defense, the base level budget hit $513.6 billion. And that was just the Department of Defense. That didn't cover all military spending, which is Veterans Affairs,
Private contracts.
Yes, private contracts, which falls under another organization. CIA, military spending overall, which was $830 billion.
$830 billion.
And has gone up since then, every year. But yeah, that's how we got to where we are.
Okay, so next thing on our topic list?
Next thing on our list is to discuss the debt ceiling and how that affected us.
So as it stands right now, our current U.S. debt ceiling, according to moneymarket.com, is $20.1 trillion. The total amount of money we're allowed to owe. But And will we be interestingly enough, though, is that we're going to be breaching that $20.1 million debt limit 2 months after our next president and Congress are sworn in. So that doesn't give a lot of time for us to actually take action. That's literally 2 months away from us now, give or take a couple of weeks here. And just to give you a little rough estimate as to how our debt is accumulating, we are paying $48,994 per second, $3 million per minute, 176,378 or $176,378,400 per hour, $4,233,081,600 per day. And our average national debt per citizen is around $55,000, give or take. It's a lot of money. I don't even have $55,000. I don't know if you do. So what Congress did is that they suspended the national debt law late around 2015 and are planning to reinstate it. And so that means the issue is going to keep going. The debt has continuously to grow. It's tremendously grown since 2009. It has almost doubled. And right now we are in a record highest government spending ever seen. So that's what I got on our U.S. debt ceiling. Future debts.
And of course, future debt is our next topic that we would like to cover. And
do you want to cover future debts?
Well, I mean, you mean solutions to future debt, or
what we're going to look at with our future debt system?
Well, as it stands right now, I believe it's Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, most of our social welfare programs make up 60% of our entire federal budget. And if I recall correctly, it's just going to get bigger and bigger until, assuming we keep things the way they are now, Social Security, Medicare, and those types of things will crowd out defense spending. It'll crowd out everything else, and to the point where the United States will be spending every bit of its budget just to pay for social welfare programs. And those are going to be the biggest topics we would have to address. And no one likes to address it because old people don't like it, poor people don't like it. But the fact is, you can't stay poor forever, and old people got to die sometime.
Old people got to die sometime.
No one likes it, but that's the truth. We can't. The young can't pay for the old to stay alive. It can't happen. It won't happen. You look at some of the European countries in recent years. Cyprus and Greece both had very generous welfare programs, and their whole economy crashed. They had to keep borrowing money from, in the case of Greece, they had to borrow money from the European Union. In Cyprus, they actually seized bank accounts from private citizens.
Private citizens, huh?
And to pay for the government's debt, which people they get too hooked on the government's money,
mm-hmm.
which is everyone's money that's paying taxes, to the point where why would they work anymore? And,
that's a point.
I'm not saying that we're at that point, but if we stay where we're at now and don't change anything, that's where we will get to. The people working are paying for the people not working, and that's just impossible to sustain. It can't last forever. Do you want to go over some other solutions? You had any ideas?
You got any solutions? Any ideas that we can?
One of the many solutions that you can apply to that is the balanced budget amendment. The majority of the states have enforced is based on the account forecast and accurate forecast. And bonds that let people buy or spend, older people, older experts.
So, how possible solutions to this is bonds that people are. So basically, what's happening right now with the Social Security system is possible solution is to privatize it, because basically what's going on is that these people from past generations say they bought these bonds and then they matured, and so now the companies that promised these bonds are paying it up. Interestingly enough, though, the company America blew all that money on something. Right? So the people are now buying additional bonds to compensate. So what happens is the money that America is getting for these bonds that we're buying are going to the people who now are owed because of the matured coupons. And so that's basically the entire system. The money that we're all paying right now, and most likely you also, you're not going to see. You're not going to get any of that. All right? So we thought a great possible solution would be privatization. That those who are 40 and up keep paying into it. That's your thing. But those who are 40 below, we would what?
We'd have to, we basically completely stop paying into
Social Security.
Social Security, and in my opinion, Medicare as well, because it's in the same boat as far as funding.
Yep.
But
so that'd be a great way to cut our cost. I mean, cut the cost of Social Security, Medicare, defense spending. On your Medicaid, we already gone to the Obama Act that's already trying to put the cost of medications and doctor visits into the citizens' hands. Do that with your retirement funds also. Make that an individual thing. Privatize the military. We already have a great number of private military contracts with us. We need to cut down on the ones we have ourselves. We're not necessarily saying that we should cut everything over to privatization. Don't give the bombs to person citizens. They're basically mercenaries. There's a higher contract.
But you don't need you don't need to spend $400,000 on an accountant to put them through basic training and teach them how to use a rifle. They're not there to use a rifle. They're there to crunch numbers.
Yeah, let them get that. Let them get all that experience on their own. Let them cover into that debt. Another thing, tax reform. 50% on flat tax total. 5% on all income. All income taxes, 5%.
No loopholes.
No loopholes at all. No tax breaks. No tax. All that gets washed away. And then in the other 10%, the other part of the 15 would be 10% sales tax. That means everything that you make money from on your sales, 10% is sold. So if you're a business owner, that applies to you. So what that does is that affects our large corporations. Now the income tax is going to affect your large individuals or your large sum of individual bodies. By doing that, you affect both sides of the spectrum and everybody gets a piece of the pie. Mm-hmm. So that's our presentation on United States debt.
And coincidentally, reforming the tax code like that, you can also structurally change the IRS.
Yes.
You don't need that many people to enforce it, and you don't need people scrolling through tax paperwork every year. So save more money.
Saves more money. Thank you.